Japan. It lies in the middle, really, of the Japanese string of islands, Hokkaido being the most northerly, Okinawa being the most southerly. Honshu is the main island. It's the one which houses Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, the most famous parts of Japan. It's also the most densely populated. Tokyo, for instance, is one of, if not the most densely populated and biggest cities in the world at about 30 million people. The biggest city near to the epicenter was that of Sendai. And you're looking at the airport, Sendai Airport, we believe, there, which was struck by a 10-meter wave, according to reports which came from that airport. Not just the airport being struck, but also the city itself hit by the earthquake. We were told that an inn inside Sendai crumbled to the ground, containing people who were staying in that inn inside, and many people were believed to have been buried, many missing across the country. And in fact, I've just been given a wire from the Agence France-Presse news agency. It says that the Japanese quake toll is up to 19 dead, 19 people now dead, according to Japanese media, that being reported by the Agence France-Presse. We can only expect this number to carry on climbing as the hours pass.
As you say, the media are reporting, Harry, that 19 people are dead, although we are getting a figure of 5 confirmed dead. And this is coming from the Japanese government telling us that 5 people have been killed in this disaster. Of course, the toll could rise, as we have been reporting, as there are many people who are still missing. Harry, when we look at the warnings that have been issued for all these countries around the Pacific, and with the United States now also confirming that this warning extends to the whole Pacific basin, I guess most countries in the Pacific Rim will be asking their nationals to evacuate areas, and I guess not all of them will be as prepared as Japan is.
No, that's right. Japan is probably the most prepared nation in the world for this kind of event. It's been expecting a big earthquake for many years. The buildings that you're looking at now are swaying under the power of the earthquake. They're designed to sway. There are a number of sea defenses up and down the coast where harbors are guarded by heavy and high concrete walls. The waterways that then work their way inland into Japan, a number of them have gates which can be dropped to prevent waves coming in, large waves coming in from the sea. And as well as that, the emergency services have well-rehearsed plans to try to respond and to rescue people in the wake of these terrible events that we're witnessing now. Elsewhere, as well as the fact that other countries in the region aren't simply as rich as Japan and don't have the resources to pour into these kind of protective measures. There's also the issue of communication. A lot of these very small islands and small communities in outlying areas aren't, despite the way that we know so much about what is happening with the waves in the Pacific, they aren't so plugged into the international telecommunications network, and they will be the first to be hit, and often it's the case that they can't be reached in time to be warned.
And looking at the precautions that are being taken in Japan, we are hearing, it's being reported, that most of Japan's transport network, communications network, has now been shut down.
A lot of shutdowns in all sorts of essential sectors. We're told that the shutdown of some of the power-producing facilities has resulted in 4 million people 4 million homes going without power in Tokyo. Bullet trains, as well as shutting themselves down automatically when their sensors detected the earthquake. The bullet train network north of Tokyo and coming into Tokyo has been shut down. Narita Airport, the main international airport serving Tokyo, we're told that flights have been cancelled there and that operations have been closed down. As well as that, the seaports around the country have been closed. So until they really know that the worst is over and that they can start to engage in full-on recovery efforts, and until they know that there are no further earthquakes in the imminent prospect, no further big tsunami waves coming, they've really shut down as much as they can to prevent what damage they can, despite what's already happened.
And there was quite some concern over the fate of Japan's nuclear power installations. The Japanese Prime Minister, in the initial part of his address to the nation, saying that the nuclear facilities had shut down. They shut down automatically, as you've just been telling us. They have an early warning system that shuts them down very quickly, and that there was no radiation whatsoever. The Prime Minister also telling us that He'd set up an emergency disaster response headquarters. He himself is heading that headquarters. What would they be doing now, Harry, that emergency center that the government has set up?
Well, it'll be a mixture of assessing damage and trying to work out how best to use their resources and where the most keenly felt need for rescuers and other emergency personnel is to be required. Some 900 emergency workers, we're told, in the first instance were sent out around northern Japan. As well as that, military aircraft have been overflying a great swathe of the east coast, trying to work out which have been the most badly affected areas. And so it's that cabinet, that emergency headquarters response team is really just trying to assess, in the first instance, what has happened, how the response is going so far, and where the greatest number of resources are required.
And that level of sophistication, as I've just been saying to you, would not exist in some countries. We heard earlier from our correspondent in Jakarta, in Indonesia, who tells us that it's going to be very difficult for the authorities there to issue warnings to people who live on very remote islands, isolated people out in islands that surround Indonesia.
That's right. There was an earthquake towards the end of last year which hit an Indonesian island at the same time as the volcano Mount Merapi was exploding. Indonesia having a twin attack from the forces of nature towards the end of last year. And one of the chief criticisms was that the tsunami early warning system hadn't worked properly, and that there were communities who had just been stranded, hadn't been informed that the tsunami was on its way. Now, obviously, there will have been efforts in the meantime, in Indonesia at least, to try to rectify that situation. But the Philippines is a similarly strung out archipelago of islands, a lot of very remote communities, remote islands, and the Philippines is obviously on the list of countries which has a tsunami warning in place. So while the more networked and more easily accessible areas of these countries will have been informed and will be going through evacuation procedures, I can only assume as we speak, there will be parts of these countries that word simply hasn't been able to be got through to.
Al Jazeera's Harry Fawcett talking to us there from Kuala Lumpur. Now, earlier, Japan's Prime Minister told his people that Japan's nuclear facilities are safe and there has been no radioactive fallout from the earthquake.
To the people of Japan, you probably have already seen on television and heard over radio that at 14:46 today, an earthquake hit of 8.4 on the magnitude scale, centered around the shores offshore Sanriku. It was a very strong earthquake. And in the Tohoku region, mainly and over a wide area, damage has been inflicted. I offer my deepest sympathy to the people who have suffered the disaster. Regarding our nuclear power facilities, some of the nuclear power plants have stopped automatically, but so far, no radioactive material or radiation has been confirmed to have been leaked to the outside. There has been no information of those lines so far. And given this situation, an emergency disaster response headquarters has been set up with myself as the head. We will secure the safety of the people of Japan, and in order to minimize the damage, the government will make every effort possible. And we ask the people of Japan to continue to be cautious and vigilant and keep tuned in to the reports on the television and radio. And we ask the people of Japan to act calmly.
That was the Japanese Prime Minister addressing the nation earlier on. Now,